She checked into a luxury hotel under a name that wasn't real. She had no ID, no luggage, no confirmed past. 2 days later, she was found dead in her room. The door was locked from the inside. Every label had been cut out of her clothes. And when police tried to identify her, they realized something unsettling. This woman had almost erased herself from existence. Authorities would later rule her death a suicide. But even now, decades later, investigators still can't agree on one basic question. Who was she, and why did she go to such lengths to make sure no one would ever know? Whoever she was, she didn't arrive in a hurry. And that may be the most unsettling part. This was not a cheap hotel. It was one of the most expensive, most prestigious hotels in the country. Business travelers, diplomats, foreign guests, people who expected to be seen. She approached the front desk calmly. No visible distress. No signs of panic. No one remembers her acting strange. She asked for a room. She registered under the name Jennifer Fairgate. At the time, nothing about that name raised concern. But it would later become the first lie investigators could prove. She paid in cash. No credit card. No passport presented. No questions asked. She was assigned room 2805 near the top of the hotel. Hotel staff would later say something important. She didn't bring luggage. No suitcase. No overnight bag. No personal items visible. Just her. That alone was unusual for a guest staying more than one night at a luxury hotel. Still, nothing appeared alarming. People check in without luggage sometimes. People use cash. People travel alone. Nothing here was a crime. Yet, once inside room 2805, Jennifer did something else that would only matter later. She ordered room service. But when staff arrived, she didn't open the door. She spoke through it. The door remained closed. Room service trays were left outside. They stayed there for hours. Eventually, staff collected them, untouched. No complaints. No calls to the front desk. No activity reported. For 2 full days, Jennifer Fairgate remained inside that room. Housekeeping never entered. No disturbed signs were noted. No one heard arguments. No loud noises. No signs of a struggle. Just silence. In a hotel full of people, room 2805 felt empty. On June 3rd, hotel staff attempted to contact her. No answer. They tried again. Still nothing. By policy, this was enough to justify a welfare check. But no one expected what they were about to find. What hotel staff found inside room 2805 would immediately turn a quiet check-in into one of Norway's strangest unsolved deaths. And from that moment on, everything about Jennifer Fairgate stopped making sense. When hotel staff finally opened the door to room 2805, they expected to find a guest in distress. Instead, they found a mystery with no history. Jennifer Fairgate was found lying on the bed. She had died from a gunshot wound. A handgun was present. The door was locked from the inside. There were no signs of a struggle. No overturned furniture. No broken items. At first glance, it appeared straightforward. Authorities initially leaned toward a single conclusion. But as investigators began documenting the scene, small details started to unravel that assumption. Police searched the room. They expected to find something, anything, that could confirm who this woman was. A passport, a wallet, a purse, a piece of mail. There was nothing. No ID, no keys besides the room key, no phone, no address book, no photographs. For a hotel guest staying multiple nights, this was deeply unusual. For a woman who had just died, it was alarming. Then investigators examined her clothing. And this is where the case took a darker turn. Every single label had been removed. Not torn accidentally. Not worn down over time. Cut out, carefully, from her jacket, from her blouse, from her skirt. No brand names. No size tags. No country of manufacture. Nothing that could be traced. It was as if someone, or she herself, had deliberately stripped away every clue to her origin. This was not normal. Most people do not know how traceable clothing labels are. Manufacturers, distribution routes, regional styles. Labels can narrow a person's identity quickly. Removing them suggests forethought, planning, and awareness of how investigations work. Police ran the name Jennifer Fairgate through every available system. Norwegian records, international databases, missing persons lists. Nothing came back. No matches. No travel records. No confirmed citizen anywhere under that name. It wasn't just rare. It was statistically improbable, which meant one of two things. Jennifer Fairgate was not her real name, or she had somehow lived without leaving any official trace. Both possibilities were disturbing. Investigators then turned to fingerprints. Surely this would lead somewhere. Fingerprints are difficult to erase completely. They were sent through international databases. At first, there were no matches. For years, her fingerprints would remain unidentified. No criminal history. No immigration record. No military service. Nothing. She was, on paper, a ghost. Investigators went back to her actions at the hotel. She paid in cash, avoided opening the door, spoke to staff through it, left no personal items behind. These weren't random behaviors. They suggested caution, distance, possibly fear, or training. This was no longer just about how Jennifer Fairgate died. It was about why she appeared to have no life outside that room at all. Who removes every label from their clothing? Who travels internationally with no ID? Who checks into a luxury hotel and leaves behind nothing that proves they ever existed? Investigators were now facing a possibility they rarely liked to consider. That Jennifer Fairgate didn't just want to stay anonymous. She wanted to be untraceable. The official explanation for her death begins to collide with details that refuse to line up. By this point, investigators knew one thing for certain. Whatever had happened inside room 2805, it had been carefully controlled. The official narrative. From the beginning, authorities leaned toward a single explanation. Suicide. The room was locked from the inside. A firearm was present. No signs of forced entry. On paper, the conclusion appeared reasonable. But when investigators began reconstructing the final moments inside that room, the story started to fracture. Room 2805 was found locked. Not barricaded. Not jammed. Simply locked from the inside. Hotel records showed no keycard access after Jennifer Fairgate entered the room. No staff entry. No guest entry. This meant one of two things. She was alone when she died, or someone entered and left without leaving a trace. Neither option fit cleanly. She died from a gunshot wound. In a hotel. Near the top floors. Yet no one reported hearing a gunshot. Not guests. Not staff. Not anyone in adjacent rooms. This raised a critical question. How does a firearm discharge in a quiet hotel without drawing attention? Even suppressed gunshots are rarely silent, especially indoors. Yet there were no reports. Investigators examined how Jennifer Fairgate was found. Her position on the bed, the location of the weapon, the angle involved. Certain aspects aligned with suicide. Others quietly did not. The firearm's placement raised questions. So did the absence of expected forensic markers. Not enough to prove foul play, but enough to prevent certainty. No suicide note was found. No personal message. No letter. No explanation. While not every suicide leaves a note, in cases involving meticulous preparation, like identity erasure, investigators usually expect some form of communication. Here, there was none. Just silence. Hotel staff attempted to contact Jennifer Fairgate multiple times before entering the room. Calls went unanswered. When exactly she died became unclear. Was it shortly after check-in? Was it closer to the welfare check? The uncertainty created a wide window, one where assumptions had to replace facts. And assumptions are dangerous in investigations. Officially, the case was ruled a suicide. But behind the scenes, doubts persisted. Some investigators questioned the lack of noise, the absence of personal effects, the extreme measures taken to erase identity. These details didn't prove homicide, but they prevented closure. People who plan suicide often leave evidence of emotional distress. People who erase their identity plan for after death. That contradiction sat at the center of the case. Why remove every trace of who you are if you're about to die? Unless anonymity itself was the goal. Investigators were careful not to speculate publicly. But privately, some began asking, was Jennifer Fairgate acting alone? Was she hiding from someone? Or was the room not as sealed as it appeared? The more authorities examined the death itself, the less confident they became in their own conclusion. And as doubts grew, a new question emerged. Not how Jennifer Fairgate died, but whether the truth was ever meant to be known at all. We look at what investigators believe happened and what the evidence refuses to support. By the end of the investigation, authorities were forced to make a decision. Not because every question had been answered, but because the case could not remain open forever. Police ultimately ruled Jennifer Fairgate's death suicide. On the surface, the reasoning was straightforward. The room was locked from the inside. A firearm was present. No signs of forced entry. No evidence of another person inside the room. In many cases, that would be enough. But this was not a typical case. Investigators pointed to several elements that supported suicide. No defensive wounds. No signs of struggle. The locked room scenario. The absence of forced entry. From a procedural standpoint, homicide could not be proven. And without proof, suicide became the default explanation. Despite the official ruling, several details continued to trouble investigators. Not enough to reverse the conclusion, but enough to prevent confidence. 1. Extreme identity erasure. People who plan suicide do not typically remove all clothing labels, travel internationally without identification, use false names without explanation. These actions suggest planning beyond death. Anonymity wasn't incidental. It appeared intentional. 2. The silence of the gunshot. A gunshot in a hotel should be noticed. Yet no one reported hearing anything. No guests. No staff. Even in cases involving muffled weapons, sound usually travels indoors. This absence of noise remains unexplained. 3. The missing note. There was no suicide note. No message. No explanation. While not all suicides include notes, this absence felt inconsistent with the level of planning seen elsewhere in the case. 4. Behavioral inconsistencies. Jennifer Fairgate avoided opening the door, spoke to staff through it, left room service untouched. These behaviors suggest caution, possibly fear, possibly training. They do not easily align with impulsive self-harm. Some investigators considered a second possibility, that Jennifer Fairgate's death was made to look like a suicide. This theory raises immediate problems. There was no evidence of another person entering or leaving the room. No fingerprints. No surveillance footage. No witnesses. Yet, it attempts to explain the identity erasure, the silence, the inconsistencies. Still, without proof, it remains speculation. A third theory focused less on the death and more on the life. What if Jennifer Fairgate was using a false identity intentionally, living outside official systems, avoiding traceability? Under this theory, the anonymity was not about death. It was about survival. The question then becomes, if her identity mattered so much, why end her life at all? Every theory explained some details. None explained all of them. And that is where the case stalled. Authorities had a conclusion, but not certainty. Jennifer Fairgate's death was officially classified. But classification is not the same as understanding. The evidence told one story. The details told another. We confront the theories that refuse to die, and the reason this case may never truly be solved. By the time the investigation reached its end, one thing was clear. The case could be closed on paper, but not in reality. One theory suggests Jennifer Fairgate intended to disappear completely, not just from records, but from memory. The false name, the lack of ID, the erased clothing labels, all point toward someone who understood how identities are traced. Under this theory, the hotel was not chosen randomly. It was international, anonymous, and offered privacy. If this was suicide, it was not impulsive. It was deliberate. But this theory raises a problem. Why choose such an extreme level of anonymity, only to die in a way guaranteed to attract attention? Another theory suggests fear, that Jennifer Fairgate was running from something or someone. Her guarded behavior, her refusal to open the door, her silence. These behaviors could suggest paranoia or legitimate danger. But if someone was after her, how did they enter and leave a locked room without being seen? And why leave no trace? This is the most controversial theory, and the one authorities are careful not to endorse publicly. Some investigators have quietly questioned whether Jennifer Fairgate had training, her awareness of investigative procedures, her deliberate anonymity, her discipline. These traits are sometimes associated with intelligence work or organized crime. But this theory relies heavily on inference. There is no proof, and without proof, it remains speculation. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the case is this: Jennifer Fairgate succeeded. To this day, her true identity remains uncertain. No confirmed family has come forward. No past has been fully reconstructed. No life before room 2805 has been verified beyond doubt. She did what very few people ever managed to do. She vanished while still being found. This case isn't just unsettling because of how it ended. It's unsettling because of what it suggests. That in a modern world filled with surveillance, records, and databases, a person can still erase themselves. Jennifer Fairgate may have died in a luxury hotel room, but whoever she really was, she left without leaving herself behind. And that may have been the point. If you have a theory, leave it in the comments. And if you want more cases like this, the ones people forgot or never truly understood, subscribe to the channel.